Who said girls can't be fortune tellers? She didn't cry. Instead, she stared at Ahu seriously, like a witch, as if saying, "Big surprise coming." Everyone was utterly confused by the girl's enigmatic and inexplicable behavior, completely unable to fathom her intentions. This move gave everyone goosebumps, but soon they arrived at the outskirts of my city, beginning with the limestone quarry. This area looked like it was sprinkled with powdered sugar, and the air was suffocating. Slaves often left with bloody mouths from working here, but nobody seemed to care if they lived or died. Then, they ventured into a run-down village that was so dirty it made you want to sneeze. Behind Beashuai's village was a bustling town. A stark contrast, everyone was busy with their livelihoods, wearing knockoffs. They lived in palaces 70. Tone freed slaves, sold them with markers, some dyed blue. This dye symbolized their sacrifice status. Then they entered my city for a grand ceremony, like the Last Supper. Under theocracy, the Mai royalty and priests blamed all their bad luck on the gods, hoping that live sacrifices would win divine. So, they performed live sacrifices to hope that the gods would wipe away the plague, just like a magical potion. My people were super excited while the soon-to-be sacrificed slaves were trembling, and Ahu mused, "Am I the next dish on the menu?" Just when he was feeling down on the altar, the sky's little window suddenly went dark. The rare occurrence of a solar eclipse caused the followers to mistakenly believe it was a sign of the god's anger, and the atmosphere instantly became restless and agitated. At this moment, the high priest emerged with overflowing enthusiasm, charmingly soothing everyone, and shortly thereafter, the moon began to slowly reappear once again. As sunshine returned, people thrilled as if winning the lottery, seeing it as the sun god's intervention. Ahu narrowly escaped death. However, the real hunt was just beginning. You could call this the start of the hunt. The remaining slaves were led to the hunting ground, where the leader wanted his son to play the role of the Terminator on the opposite side. The command, slaves' ropes were untied, but reality wasn't as simple. When two fled, hunters chased Igro until Delwai, like hunting chickens. One hunter wound up a fist-sized rock and threw it at one of the slaves, resulting in a scream that could only be described as a tragic ouch. Just when another lucky slave thought he made it, he was shot through the chest with a dart. The two wounded slaves struggled to survive, but the Terminator waited, and now Ahu's turn came, leaving everyone concerned. They started by moving like slippery snakes, and to their surprise, it worked, dodging the hunter's attacks. But the second in command couldn't resist and shot, sending a teammate to the afterlife. As Ahu was about to escape the cornfield, the hunter leader decided it was time for him to join the fray. Ahu was shot down by an arrow, and then the Terminator tried to wrap it up, only to get flipped by a wounded teammate. When the Terminator turned his attention to Ahu, he quickly grabbed an arrowhead for a counterattack. After successfully taking down the Terminator, Ahu yanked the arrow from his body and ran like crazy towards the cornfield. Seeing his son killed, the hunter leader was furious and chased after him like a tornado, vowing to avenge his son. Ahu's escape was intense until he fell into a pit, stunned to see a body exhibition below. He had no time to think and quickly covered his wound, scrambling to climb out of the pit, although he felt extremely unwilling. Soon he escaped into the jungle, dragging his wounded body to hide in a tree to avoid detection, and the hunters couldn't find him at all. But his wound was bleeding profusely. Just when he relaxed, a drop of blood dripped from the leaves onto a hunter's back. The hunters gradually caught on, realizing a black panther was eyeing him menacingly. The commotion alerted the enemies, and the hunters realized it was Ahu escaping, so they swarmed in. One brave guy rushed forward, trying to grab Ahu but got taken down by the black panther. The following hunters fiercely attacked the panther, and with the last stab, the panther went down, leaving the hunters with haunting memories. However, the hunter leader refused to believe in any ridiculous prophecies. He just wanted to kill Ahu to avenge his son. Shortly after they managed to take down the panther, the hunters buzzed around like flies, tracking Ahu's scent. But before Ahu could celebrate, a venomous snake suddenly delivered a hefty love tap. Although the snake was quickly killed by a teammate, the damage was done, and the team abandoned him to continue chasing Ahu. Ahu's wound kept bleeding, so he bit off and chewed a piece of bark, stuffing it into his wound to stop the bleeding. But the hunters caught up, furious, and throwing all kinds of weapons like they were playing a flying game. Even in their fury, with all their strength, they couldn't hit Ahu. Finally, Ahu escaped the jungle, but in front of him was a shit cliff, while the hunters chased him like ants on a mission. Faced with the towering cliff, Ahu didn't waver for a second. Instead, he resolutely chose to jump, fully aware that this was his only slim chance at survival. The hunters angrily followed, aiming to finish him off, but he dodged their attacks like a pro. When Ahu finally evaded the hunters, he stumbled right in front of the steep cliff, and the hunters were right on his tail. After a brief struggle, Ahu decided to jump, thinking it was his best chance at survival. Hearing the hunters cursing angrily, he jumped deeper, seemingly willing to risk it all against fate. Ahu refused to submit to despair, wanting only to express his sorrow with an opera. Stay tuned, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more exciting content.